Hello friends, welcome to this new episode. In this episode, we will discuss about MDG-BP cloud solution. So we will discuss only about the basics, not the advanced part. Okay. So MDG-BP cloud solution is implemented based on the wrap model. So to understand it, I would highly recommend you guys to create one wrap object and then try to expose a database table and try to create some entries and then try to update the existing entries. So let's understand what the wrap model basically contains. Yeah, at least the basics of the wrap model. Yeah. So the wrap object. So as I mentioned, try to create one wrap object, expose the custom table. So the wrap object basically contains a data table dictionary object that is nothing but a database table. So you create one custom database table and then you create a CDS view by selecting the data from the database table. So the basically is, let's understand some basics of the CDS view. So the CDS view has three types. One is a basic CDS view and another is interface view and third is a consumption view. So basic view is nothing but the select statement on the multiple database tables, on the database tables. But interface view is nothing but select statement on the multiple CDS views. That is multiple basic CDS views or even an interface CDS view, other interface CDS views also. And consumption view is the view used by the UI applications. That is what you are, going to expose to the outside world. That is your real what your real applications gonna consume. Only those things you're gonna define it in the consumption view. For an example, the interface view, let's say it contains 10 fields. Yeah, but the consumption view you only define 5 fields, and the consumption view also can contain the details about how the UI the how the fields can look like in the UI. So you can define all the annotations here. So these about the basic CDS view, basics of CDS view. But if you want to learn more, of course, there are so many, YouTube videos, so you can also go through it. For now, I think this much is sufficient. You really no need to know very high level. Basically, I don't learn, from the starting. Rather, I take an example and then try to understand it by searching Google. So same way you try to create one basic view, try to create one interface view, then consumption view, very basics like the hello world level. Yeah. So then when you are in the project, when you see the different views, you try to search and then try to understand each and every notation, so that way you can easily understand. Also you can quickly improve your skill set, instead of learning whole thing and then trying to work out. It is going to take long. Okay, so let's continue. So you have now dictionary table. Then you created a CDS view, which is nothing but the select on your database table. And now you're gonna right click on the CDS view and generate all the wrap object. So the main object is behavior definition. So behavior definition and behavior implementation and metadata definition and service definition and service binding translation objects. Okay, so these are the thing you will see it in your rep model, and these are the two things you're gonna create it. Rest of them you will right click and automatically generate all these objects. And based on your custom requirements, you can you can also extend or create some updates in this generated objects. Okay, so let's understand what is a behavior definition. So it is nothing but a more like a controller for the wrap model. So wrap model is like MVC pattern. So model, view, controller. So view is, the user interface. So we use a Fiori application. So that is view. So controller here is a behavior definition. This is what controls the entire execution. Yeah. So here we define, like, how the data gets stored in the drop table, and also in the main table, and what kind of actions the user can perform in the user interface application. So all this you will define it in the behavior definition. Behavior implementation is nothing but a class. So in this class you're gonna, like, define how the validations, derivations, or actions, or the save can be performed. So behavior definition executes the behavior implementation accordingly. And metadata definition is nothing but, it defines how the data can look like in the user interface application. You can define, okay, this is a field, or it at which portion this field should be displayed, and what is the length, etc., etc. So this is more of a annotations. So service definition is, you're gonna say, like, what you're gonna expose it, what are all the consumption views you're gonna expose to the outside world. You're gonna define it in the service definition. And service binding, like, which type of protocol you're using to expose this object. For an example, OData v2 or v4. Yeah. So and also you can publish the service. Translation object is nothing but to translate this into a different language. Yeah. So all you need is here dictionary table, CDS view, and then you can generate all these things automatically, and then right away you can, go to your service. This is what a service binding will look like. You can just click a service URL, and then you can able to create a new entry and update in a existing entry in the table. So this is that much simpler. Okay. Okay, so now you understood the RAP model. You see here, this pattern contains less coding model. So cloud BTP solution, MDG-BP solution is much, much simpler than the classic solution. So here, this is a less coding model, more of a configurations and more of a annotations to, to handle the user interface. So here, if you understand, you don't need an knowledge about the Fiori application, like a Fiori. You don't have to be a Fiori developer, because we are not going to do anything in the Fiori level. Okay, everything is controlled here only. So you don't have work in the user interface level at all. So you don't really need to have a Fiori knowledge. Yeah. So, but there are, of course, certain things you can change it, but it is not really necessary. If you want to change the object position, level, or also the length, etc., you can do it here itself. So you don't need to do it in the Fiori level. So here you really don't need a Fiori knowledge, Fiori developer skill set or something. You really don't require. All you need is really the RAP knowledge. If you have a RAP knowledge, then you are pretty much can understand the cloud MDG BP solution. And within the RAP model, the important part is dictionary object, CDS view. Here you model everything. Yeah. And the second is behavior definition. If you want derivations, validations, etc., you can define everything here. And then the behavior implementation, where we implement all our derivations, validations, etc. And the other things are you can use based on your requirements. So this is about the RAP model. So now let's go to the central governance, cloud BTP central governance solution. So you see, this is the main package here. So MDC Bupa governance BO. This is the main package for the central governance. Okay. So you see, it starts with MDC. So now what SAP did in the cloud BTP is they integrated the single processing also in the mass processing. So this is the package for the central governance in the cloud BTP. And of course, you know that, if you worked already with the consolidation and mass processing, the main package is MDG-BP root. So you can, of course, go to the root package. That is not an issue. But here we are going to discuss only about the central governance. So I'm going to stay with this package. Okay. So in this package, let's understand what they did. Yeah. So we already have a database tables. Those are nothing but the BUT tables, right? BUT 00, 010, etc., etc. So the table already exists. Now, what SAP did, they created the necessary draft table, PRC table for mass processing, right? So and then draft table. Draft table is for which purpose? So, for an example, if you type something in your user interface application, the data gets saved simultaneously in the draft table. So you can, leave the screen and then come back, and then you can reopen, and then you can start working on it again. So everything gets stored and it is not lost. So that for that purpose, we normally in the RAP model always have a draft table. Draft table is mandatory as far as I know, but you can also ignore draft table in the behavior definition by changing some logic in the behavior definition. But normally draft table is a good concept that it is integrated with the RAP model, that we can use it. Yeah. Okay, so this is draft table they created, and rest of them we really no need to understand for now at least. So if you check this, so this is all database views. You see the basic views, business partner process changes. Yeah, so this is all basic views, but you don't need to understand this one. Let's go to the other. Yeah, so this is all basic things, basic views. Yeah, so you see this is all basic CDS views. Yeah, to understand it, I would say you go to the consumption views. So this is the dictionary objects, and then CDS view, core data views. Yeah, so here data definitions. So this is what important. Yeah, so in this, the main CDS view is let's check. So this is process, about the process, like the change request header, all this change request header fields. It's you see in the MDC we have a different fields, right? Like a process ID, etc. So this is so if you want to compare with the classing model, more like a change request header. So this is the governance TP, MDC governance TP, and the second main CDS view is business partner governance TP. So here you can understand, from here you can understand everything. So you see they selected from different CDS view, and then they expose all these tables, sorry, all these fields. So all these fields can be selected using this CDS view. And if you see here the annotations, yeah, they have allow extension. So that means for this CDS view, you can create custom extension and then include your own custom field. So all you need to do is right click and then create your own extension and then include all your fields. Okay, so now this is about the CDS view. So now let's go to the metadata extension. So the main metadata extension. But if you see the CDS view, they created CDS view for every table, like for in case of fax, bank, and address, everything they created own CDS view. Yeah, we are discussing only the root objects. Yeah, but you can also check the other objects if you want. Okay, so here we're gonna check metadata extension of the root object. So here if you see here the metadata extension, as I mentioned, here you are gonna define how the field will be displayed in the Fiori launchpad. So this is called no coding model. So that means you don't have to be a Fiori developer. You just need to understand the annotations. So we put annotations. Based on the annotation, the field is displayed in the user interface application. So that's what I say, like classic, compared to classic mode, cloud BTP solution is really simpler. It is more like a configurations than the coding. Classic model, there are so much of coding. Here it is not like this. It is more to do with the CDS view and then annotations, and then it is pretty much done. So it is really not complex thing. Okay, it is more simplified, I would say. So this is the root metadata extension. Now let's go to the behavior definitions. So here, behavior definition, partner, process, government. I think this is the one. So here it says, so don't confuse with all these things because I still not understood everything. So it will take some time to understand. Okay. So you see the extensible options. You can also extend this behavior definition for your custom requirement. And here it defines all the actions that you can perform in the user interface application. And then it also has a definition like a create, update, delete. These all the actions you can perform. And this is the consumption view. Okay, that for that consumption view, these all the actions are possible. And then the data gets stored in the draft, right? And here it says these fields are read only. Yeah, so some details. So some details means it's about the controller, or the the controller. Whenever there is some execution, controller will correctly navigate to the behavior implementation and then executes the relevant code. So now this is business partner scripter org address. I think it's something to do with address. Okay, address usage, telephone. So it defines all the actions that you can perform and which fields are read only, etc. So if you have a derivations and validation specific thing, normally we also define those controls in the behavior definition. So now let's go to the behavior implementation. So behavior definitions, source code library. This is where behavior implementations are there. Okay, so this is the behavior implementation. So here we have all the code. How the save can be performed in case of any derivations, validations, or specific thing. All these things will be defined here. Okay, so in this code, in this class, sorry. So if it is a wrap model, right? So it always inherits this particular class. So this class has so many methods for saving, updating, etc. So this is a behavior handler class of the wrap model. So now we discuss about all these things. Let's discuss access control. Access control is about the access object, like it's a role based concept, like who can access, etc. We control the object. And service definitions and service binding or something we need to check. Service definitions. So you see all this consumption views are exposed, like change process. So normally if you want to understand, you always come first to the service binding, from there go to the service definition, yeah, then navigate to consumption view, and then behavior implementation, metadata extension, etc. So you see here all these consumption views are exposed to the outside world. Now this is a service binding. So here it says what is the binding type. Is it a v2 or v4? And then it says published, unpublished, and this is the URL that the service can be executed. So here you can simply, once you identified your service binding, go to service definition. So this is your service definition. From here you can go to any consumption views. So here you can go and then you can check all the CDS view. From here you can navigate to behavior definition, behavior implementation, etc., etc. So in a nutshell, if you want to understand cloud BTP, you first try to understand wrap model. And then, as I mentioned, wrap model is really very simple. You don't need to, it's not a complex thing, it's not like a more coding thing. It is much simpler than the classic model.